back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and this is all about my life after gastric bypass surgery. In today's video, I would like to talk about the last month, I guess it's been over a month now, of challenging myself to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day. And I promise there was a really good reason for it. So that's right. I challenged myself to start waking up at 5 a.m. every day. And the rationale behind that was basically, I mean, there was a lot to it, but basically twofold. The first big reason was that I just didn't have time. I felt like I didn't have time in the day. And by the time I was done with work and I had all of the best intentions to do something productive or healthy or, good habit building, it just didn't happen. I was too tired and too exhausted from the day, and I just didn't have the motivation and the desire by the time that happened in the evening to do things that I said I wanted to do and start incorporating in my life. So if I gave myself more time in the morning, knowing full well that that probably means my nights will be ended earlier. So it's not like I'm just finding more time, but I'm shifting that time. Maybe I'd be able to find the time to do those things that I really had always meant to implement in my life later in the day that I just wasn't getting around to. So could I do that in the morning? And the second part of that, which is kind of along the same lines, but another big driving force behind this, was giving myself time to work out, or at the very least go out for a walk, giving myself time to reflect and have, personal care, self-care, giving myself that time back. So the challenge was to try for a month and figure out, was it worth it? Did it get what I was hoping accomplished? And how did I feel at the end of it? So for the entire month of October, I woke up at 5 a.m. One ground rule that I did set, though, was that I was not going to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day. This was just going to be for weekdays, and the weekends did not need me to be waking up at 5 a.m. every day. There's no need to do that and to implement that in my life. I need some sort of rest. And even with all of that, I still have to get up because of animal schedules and everything at about 6:30 in the morning on the weekend. So I'm still already getting up ungodly early on the weekends. I wasn't going to force myself to get up at 5 a.m. also. But for the majority of my time, the majority of my days, my working days, I was going to try getting up at 5 a.m. So I did record that process. And before we get into that, I just want to say, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing and continuing to watch my videos. It still blows me away. It still blows me away. I can't believe people keep coming back. So thank you so much for supporting my channel and my journey through all of this. The weight loss, the self-help, the self-betterment, my growth as a person. As I shrink, I'm growing, and it is a process that I wasn't entirely sure how it would be. So to film that and to share that with other people has been a really, really interesting process. So thank you so much for continuing to watch and support my channel. If you're not yet a subscriber, but you find yourself coming back to my videos or watching and liking the stuff that I'm putting out there, I just ask that you consider hitting the subscribe button to show your support and ring the notification bell so you get notified whenever my videos go live. So here is how my month of waking up at 5 a.m. started. I'm so tired I almost forgot to record. It's just after 5:30 in the morning. It was a little rough getting up this morning, but I think that's mostly due to the fact that starting at 2 a.m. I woke up every hour almost on the hours. So I'm not sure what that's all about. It's quite dark, as you can see, and I've now just left my light, so I'll make this short, but I'm going on a walk this morning with the puppy. The only thing that I dislike about that is that we don't have a very good, like a trail or even very good sidewalks or areas to go around, so I'm just trying to go in like the least populated areas that I can. What did you find? Let's not eat that. I'm back home settled and I have made myself my cup of coffee. So I'm just now sitting down to
kind of the rest of my morning, which is about the time that my alarm would normally go off. So it's almost 6:30. The cats are going nuts because they think if I'm awake and moving around, it must be food time. They're gonna have to get used to the new routine that just because I'm awake does not mean that it's food time. If I could streamline that and get a couple of things done within that time period, it would be nice. But it does at least allow me to get going and get a walk in before anything else happens, which is something I have not been making time for and has been very difficult with my schedule lately. I think I mentioned in a prior video, but my cat recently got diagnosed with diabetes, and so part of our routine has been that I have to sit here and 15 minutes after he eats, I have to make sure that he gets his insulin injection. That really threw a wrench in my morning. It really threw a wrench in the routine that I was getting, which is one reason why I'm thinking about trying to regularly wake up at 5. At this point, I do have about 2 hours until I have to leave and go to my office. I don't always have to go to my office. A lot of times I get to work from home. But today I do have a meeting scheduled at 9, so that's just like one thing that's on my list. I got to get a couple things done at my office today, but I won't be gone for very long. What I'm curious about is how I'm going to feel later today. How long is it going to take me to feel really tired, and at what point am I going to get really, really, really sleepy tonight? I know my fiance regularly gets up at 5 and he gets really, really sleepy about 8. I'm hoping it doesn't hit me that early because it feels so early to be like wrapping my day up. We'll see how far I get. This is the most like awake and prepared for the day that I've felt in a long time, which makes sense. I've been awake now for like 5, 6, 7, 8, 3.5 hours. My goodness. The route that I took this morning is not what I used to do in the morning. I'm a little nervous about loading the dog up and going out to this trail in the middle of nowhere at 5:30 in the morning when it's dark. I don't feel unsafe. I don't know. It just feels like it'll be like really dark and creepy. There is some wildlife on that trail. Like one time I saw a coyote, which was bizarre. I wouldn't have expected to see one so close to town, but there are fields nearby that it goes by. So, I mean, theoretically, there could be wildlife, and there's no lights or anything, but it's also off of the road, because that was something I had to deal with this morning, was everybody leaving for work and a lot of traffic. Parker doesn't really like to walk by a lot of traffic on the busy roads. It kind of freaks him out. He does very well with it. I think he'd be happier if we weren't on the road. So I might try that. I just realized that I'm sitting in the same spot as this morning, but I just got off of work, but not overwhelmingly, just like it's starting to catch up to me. So I'm going to finish my caffeinated beverage and see about kind of winding down for the night, and then starting, actually right now I need to go start dinner because I have to bake something for an hour. Sir, I'm gonna have to show you a picture of this because he's pretty cute right now, but now I'm gonna be delayed in getting my dinner started. Day 2, I, as suspected, had a little bit of a tough time getting up this morning. More importantly, I was so tired last night, and I was like ready for bed at 8, but I was baking and like literally couldn't go to bed. And so I still went to bed relatively on time, but the bedtime routine has always been tough for me. And it's going to be even more difficult if I'm waking up this early. I didn't have too hard of a time waking up this morning. It was kind of rough, but I'm noticing that the last couple of nights I'm sleeping really poorly. I don't know how much of that is due to my new schedule and how much of that is just due to the fact that lately I think a lot of it is stress induced, but I did get up. I walked this morning with the dog and I was able to get most of my stuff done. This is an earlier morning than normal because on Tuesdays I go to my therapy appointments, and so I have to leave the house around 7:45 in the morning. which is not normal. I'm normally don't have to like get going until between 8 and 8:30. It was really nice to get stuff done this morning though. Not only did I get my walk done, but I came home and I did a load of dishes and got the dishwasher running first thing. So I was able to feel a little bit productive, which means if I can manage to clean the rest of the dishes that are left over today, then I'll be completely caught up on a Tuesday, which is amazing. Day 3. Oh, I'm tired this morning. I did not get enough sleep. I think I'm running off of 6.5 if I got lucky. But here I am for the walk. Today was the closest I got to falling back asleep. I got real close, but I made it through. We're 3/4 of the way done-ish with our walk on Friday, and then I get a little bit of a break this weekend. I don't have to get up quite as early. I'm not gonna get up at 5 on the weekend. That just seems like it's torturous for no reason. It's really tough to get out this morning, but I was about 10 minutes late, but I'm here. It's mornings like this that I feel tested because I did not sleep well. I didn't go to bed quite early enough. I don't have any reason, so to speak, to absolutely be up by 5 o'clock. And so my thought process ends up being, why not just sleep in an extra hour today? Like, give yourself that break. And I think there's something to be said about that. Like, I could give myself that break. I could take an extra moment of rest, but I also know how much better I've been feeling when I get out of bed and I go for a walk. So I forced myself to get out of bed and go for a walk. And I know that after the walk, I always feel more woken up and more ready for the day. So it's just that 30 minutes between when my alarm goes off and when I am trying to get out the house. At least it's Friday, so there's that. Hey, do you like my hat? Doesn't get all that easier. I mean, it does, but boy, was it hard to get out of bed. Boy, was it hard to get moving this morning. I'm feeling better and a little more awake. Good morning. I look so much more tired in the camera than I do in the mirror. So I'm in Texas for my work conference, and 5 a.m. just didn't really work out for me this morning with yesterday's travel and everything that happened right before bed. And then, the time difference, it just wasn't really something that I felt like it was a good idea when my alarm went off. That was the first time. It is October 24th right now. It's the first time that it's been rainy. It's gotten cold enough that I've been putting on gloves and making sure I'm bundled, but this is the first time it's been rainy, and it was the first time that I was going out for a walk since I got back yesterday from my work conference. So right back to the grind, right back to everything. Although I did not do what I was hoping to do while I was in Texas, I'm not too upset about it. I mean, ultimately, the time difference and everything going on, waking up at 5 a.m. just wasn't possible. That'd be 3 a.m. my time. I did wake up early enough to, have a good start to my morning before having things that I had to do at the conference. And that's been the whole point of trying to wake up at 5 a.m. is to be able to do some things and not feel so much stress and just give myself some time. So Thursday and Friday, I didn't get around to doing that, but first thing Monday, back to the grind. I woke up at 5 a.m., got out there, went for a walk with the dog, even though it was rainy, because these are things that I want to be able to do, and I want to make sure that I make a habit of these things. And So it's working. And ultimately, it's a really good example of how life happens. You know, you have these plans and you have these ideas and things that you want to do. Sometimes it's just not practical. Sometimes other stuff gets in the way. So the most important thing is to do what you can when you can. Try to be as consistent as you can. Be okay when you can't, and just get right back to it as soon as you can. So I feel like this was a really good snapshot of real life. You know, I had 2 days I just could not do that. I just could not continue with that routine. But as soon as I could Monday morning, I'm back at it. It's starting to get colder. But here I am. At least it's not raining today. So unfortunate timing, I have another work conference obligation. This time I'm putting it on rather than attending it. And it has really thrown my week for a loop, especially, coming off the tails of the work trip that I just had. So yesterday I just couldn't do it. I could not wake up at 5 a.m. I just needed an extra hour. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes we need to, in the moment, determine what we need, what our bodies need. In that case, although I'm challenging myself to get up at 5 every day and do the things that I want to do in the morning and go for a walk and be healthy and add these things to my life, I also have to be flexible and adaptable if that's just not going to happen. So it didn't yesterday. And I had another night of not enough sleep, and I have a lot on my plate today. But I got up at 5 this morning. I have not gone for a walk yet. I know that it would be helpful to clear my head and get me going. I'm just not sure that I'm going to be able to do that realistically this morning. But I did get up at 5, and I am trying to get a good start, and I want to start my day today with reading. I want to read a little bit in a book that I'm reading that I'm really enjoying. I don't want my whole day to be completely consumed by this task that I have to do where I don't get to enjoy myself. So part of getting up early this morning is so that I make time to enjoy myself for a little bit before I jump down the rabbit hole.
I swear I had footage, at least 2 more days of footage before I stopped, but all of my footage on my camera seems to stop abruptly there. So I'll have to give you a quick summary of how the rest of everything went. That last clip I filmed on Thursday the 27th, and I headed out to the facility that we were going to be having our conference at, and we played setup and preparation for the rest of that day. So the next day I did get up at 5. I didn't go for a walk. I didn't, do a lot of stuff because we actually had a very early morning to set up for the conference, but I still woke up early. I still made sure I had plenty of time to be up, and I even read my book in the morning. So I had time for myself before this big conference started. The big conference was a big conference. It was a lot of pressure and it was a lot of work. So I was extremely relieved when it was over. Thank God it was just one day. I can't even tell you. But that was Friday the 28th. So then the weekend came and I did not wake up at 5 a.m. because it was the weekend. But by the time Monday rolled around, it was the 31st, it was Halloween, and I just was so relieved to not have anything on my plate because my entire month of October had been so busy and so stressful that I just wanted to give myself another extra hour and a half to sleep. So I didn't get up early that morning. But you know what? Tuesday, the 1st rolled around, and I decided that that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to continue getting up early. I wanted to continue this process. I liked the way my schedule had been for the last 30 days. And despite the couple of days here and there where either stress or my schedule got in the way, I found it remarkably beneficial to wake up at 5 a.m. every weekday. So I want to reflect and break this down just a little bit because I have talked on my channel extensively, and I've actually looked back at a few of my older videos and realized just how big of a pattern this is for me to discuss how overwhelmed and stressed I'm feeling and how that is constantly pushing back, and it's combating with my desire to do better and to be better and to feel better. This whole process, my whole weight loss process, has been to feel better, to be better, to just do better and be the best version of myself I can be, to be healthier, to have a higher quality of life, to have a longer life, to have a better life. All of this is why I started this process in the first place. So this is just a continuation and extension of this whole process. You may or may not think that this is directly weight loss related, but not only is it related to the success long term of my weight loss, but it is the heart of why I started this process and this journey in the first place. So after the 30 days was over, how did I find that I was spending my time when I was giving myself this extra almost 2 hours in the morning? I really was successful at giving it back to myself. I needed a chance to nurture myself, my soul, if you will, to give myself a chance to feel like I was being cared for, because I was working so hard and I was just stressing out about everything, and I was not taking the time to do what I needed to heal and to be better. And that doesn't mean that me going off and taking a bath in the evening or something is enough to really replenish myself. So self-care is important, but how we're approaching that self-care and how often we're giving ourselves that care is just as important. It's not just that I occasionally make time for myself to paint my nails or to go and take a bath or something like that. So what I found myself doing as my schedule and my routine was getting into a good flow was that I would find that I would go for my walk in the morning with the dog. I'd come home and I would have a good 30 to 45 minutes to just sit down and read a book, something that I haven't been able to give myself time to do in a very long time. Being able to sit down and read a book uninterrupted by myself for 30 to 45 minutes in the morning was huge. It was like I was taking something back that I always enjoyed doing, but I lost along the way because I got bogged down in the grind and the daily to-dos. At that point, I would have to go through, make sure all the animals were fed and that Philip got his insulin shot. And then I would find myself in a position of having another 45 minutes to an hour to myself. And at that point, I was able to do some Christmas shopping, do my Spanish lessons, play some phone games, scroll through social media for 10, 15 minutes and not feel really guilty like it was taking a chunk of my time away from doing something else. I also found myself occasionally doing a load of dishes or tidying up during that time period and just feeling like I had the time that I didn't have to worry about it. So by the time I was starting work between 8 and 8:30 in the morning, I had had 2.5 to 3 solid hours of just easing into my day and starting off with the things that mattered to me. And being able to start the day off on that foot, to start everything off with that kind of energy and vibe, if you will, really made a huge difference. Within the first week of doing that, I instantly felt better. And the stress itself was not taken off of my plate. In fact, it was building as the rest of the month was continuing on. It was building up to more and more things that I had to get done by the end of that month. So the stress itself did not get better, but my ability to take a breath and to think and to give myself the care I needed, that just grew and got better and made everything so much easier. The analogy that keeps popping in my head when I talk to other people about this and I talk about this situation is that when you're on an airplane and they tell you that you need to put on your oxygen mask first before assisting other people, and the rationale behind that is that you can't adequately help someone else unless you make sure you are safe and taken care of first. And that always pops in my head when we're talking about self-care and when we're talking about the steps needed to be able to properly care for others and properly do the things that we need to do in our lives. If we don't take that time to put our own oxygen masks on first, make sure that we are safe and cared for and loved and nourished, if we don't do those things, how can we ever expect to truly and properly care for other people or accomplish the things in our lives that we need to accomplish? And this challenge really helped me see that so much clearer. And I've continued to wake up at 5 a.m. It's almost the end of November now. I've gone and done this for almost 2 solid months now, and I think that this was an absolutely necessary change. And one of the big things that I want to make sure is emphasized in this is that I did not give myself this extra hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning so that I could clean and feel productive and get a bunch of stuff done and checked off my to-do list so that I didn't have to worry about it later. This really was an hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning to focus on myself and my own needs, my emotional needs, my physical needs. It was not something where I was giving myself time so that I had extra time in the day to get my chores done, because that's not the issue we're looking at here. Yes, those things weigh on my mind, and yes, they end up being things that are kind of pressure on my shoulders. It's like, oh, you still have to vacuum today. Oh, don't forget that this weekend you have to clean the cat box. And these things, they pile up and they make you feel really stressed on top of all the other things going on. But if I don't focus and make sure that my own oxygen mask is on, I can't attend to all those things in my life and feel like I'm getting anywhere with it. Which is why I think so many times in my life, I feel like I'm just chipping away at something that's just not ever getting smaller. So that's the big thing that I wanted to make sure was taken away from this video. I gave myself time in the morning to truly internally care for myself and my needs first. It was an adjustment, and it did take time for me to get used to getting up quite a bit earlier and subsequently going to bed a little bit earlier. But I noticed that all of that fell into place once I started to feel so much better and like I was truly caring for myself. Oh, and also my sleep got better, which is a huge thing. I was running into so many issues with insomnia and an inability to sleep. And I've noticed that not only am I sleeping better, but I don't have to sleep as long. I was so worried about getting up at 5 a.m. that I was going to have to go to bed at 8 p.m. every night to adjust for that. And I've realized that I really don't have to go to bed that early, because I'm caring for myself in a deeper way now, that I don't feel like I just need to sleep for 10 hours just to feel recouped and refreshed. And I know that my monthly update was full of a little bit of negativity and just a lot of stuff that was strummed up because of that stress. But this was such a huge, amazing accomplishment and a huge, amazing thing that came out of that month. This self-reflection and this very eye-opening moment. And I feel so much more in tune with myself now. And it hasn't fixed all the problems, but it has certainly given me an ability to take a step back and have a conversation internally with myself about what my expectations are and what my needs are to properly care for myself, because I clearly have not done that appropriately in the past. We all got to start somewhere. And this is where this part of my journey begins. It's been really hard, and it's been a hard truth to realize that I haven't ever taken care of myself in that way, and I've neglected a big part of myself. But knowing is half the battle. So now that I know, and now that I have some clarity in that, and I have some forward movement and some ability to combat that and feel so much better, I feel so much better. So thank you so much for watching. If you are in the US, I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving this week. If you're not, I hope you have a very happy rest of your week, and that you give yourself some time to reflect on the things that maybe you are thankful for. Make sure you stay happy and healthy and always look at the big picture, and I will see you guys in the next one.